Alright, there we go. While I wait for the others to show up, me and Art, he's going off that way. We were the first ones to return to Phandalin after taking on the Red Brands. I should start back from when we were interrogating that Red Brand that I captured. Well, I had captured this Red Brand and carried him back to Rosaria's home. And we interrogated him. The rest of the group came back after disposing of the bodies. I don't know what they did, but they did it. So we came back and talked to the Red Brand that I had captured, and it took a little prompting. He's feared for his life from spilling the secrets that he did, but we were persuasive enough, and he told us that the Red Brands as a group are led by a wizard named Glassstaff, and that they are holed up in the ruined manor above town. So we dug a little bit deeper and found out that as a gang they are being employed by another called the Black Spider. Not a very imaginative name, honestly, but this is what we are up against. So we discussed amongst ourselves. I admit I did not think these Red Brands to be worth our time at the moment. I thought it'd be more pressing that we go after our employer, who was at the mercy of goblins, who I suspect have less mercy than these gang members, but still, they were insistent this was the enemy that was here and now. So, that's the angle that we took. First, we went back to the Sleeping Giant. We made sure that there weren't any other Red Brands in there, and it was very easy to determine that. Most of the people that were there were just defeated commoners who did not mind drinking in the same place that these Red Brands congregate, so it goes. We got bored of that pretty quickly. They don't even have a proper bouncer in there. So then we went up to the manor. Leosin had gone ahead to scout, but there was no sign of him. We first examined the ruins of the manor above ground. We sent in our archaeologist, and I believe that Art went with as well. They examined the first floor and found it uninhabited, anything of any value having been smashed by bored and idle Red Brands. And the entirety of the upper level was uninhabitable and ruined. Although, to be fair, the place actually would be relatively easy to repair from what they say. The walls are very strong, so repairing the rest of it might be a relatively easy task. And as it looked like it was a substantially large dwelling, those small city buildings in Waterdeep don't interest me very much. Something like this, more out in the open, if prosperity could be brought back to the lands, could be pleasant enough, I suppose. Not the same as the freedom of traveling the mountain peaks, but still good. We also, of course, made note that there was a cellar to the place, and also that there was no other entrance into the manor proper, so we made preparations to go below. As we were preparing to go in, we heard the door rattling. Apparently Tradovic had put a bar through the handles of the door so that it could not open easily. We removed it. I reached down, grabbed the figure who was trying to get out, and hauled him bodily out. It was Leosin. Apparently, Leosin was able to prove that he had not betrayed us and gone to join the Red Brands, so he had instead been scouting out their lower complex. Which was nice of him. I regret having thought for a moment that he had joined. So, we then went in, and forewarned about a trap that he had discovered, we ambushed a group of Red Brands. They were drunk. They had been drinking the rum, and were in no shape truly to defend themselves. This group that I am with seems to be a bit bloodthirsty. When I was traveling with the Harper group, they were not afraid of combat. I think some of the people in this current group I'm with revel in it a bit more than I do. And there's no great honor in fighting drunks and the riffraff that we've been discovering so far, but, I suppose it makes for a more lawful society if these gang members are gone, so we slaughtered them pretty ruthlessly. So, after that, we discovered a cistern full of clean water that somebody had secreted in a rope attached to a waterproof satchel with some coin and a change of traveling clothes. Somebody was apparently prepared to depart on a moment's notice. I don't mind saying that we took that. It turns out Tradovic, Secret Finder, is very good at finding the secrets of the doors. This place was riddled with them. It turns out there was a secret door in the main chamber at the bottom of the stairs into the cellar. There was a trap on a side passage which would have led further in. And all told, we followed the secret door first, the passage beyond, which led us into a large natural cavern. There were numerous passages out, including one that looked like it led completely out. Fresh air was coming in. But while we were there, we were taunted by a spectral voice we could all hear, but could not pinpoint where it came from, calling itself the Watcher in the Darkness and claiming that it knew our deepest, darkest secrets. Well, this was more disturbing than dangerous, so we thought. There were 2 bridges across the large chasm in the middle of this very large chamber. And across that chasm there were a pair of passages. When our redoubtable secret finder attempted to cross the first bridge, his reflexes saved him from a nasty fall. The bridge's supports had been cut, and it fell as soon as he put weight to it. However, he was fine. Little shaken, but fine. Apparently, our dwarven hammer-obsessed warrior is a bit of an impatient child, which is unusual for their type. He immediately charged forward, exploring everywhere and digging into every nook and cranny he could, which earned him swiftly a quick zapping from the true inhabitant of the room. It struck at him with dark energy. It was not significant, however. We have advanced from the beginners that we were when we first met to the point where this was more a nuisance than anything. So we quickly became curious about the dark patches that dwelt within the cavern and baffled our lights. It seemed magical. The entire place had a reek of fell magic. But nothing again appeared dangerous until we discovered the creature, which is called a Nothic. Somewhat of a humanoid, but with one large staring eye. It came out and attacked from surprise, with the exception of the few people who spotted it. I admit I did not. It went to attack, and we turned and delivered our full fury upon it. I cast forth a javelin, because I did not know from whence the battle would come, so I had my ranged weapon at hand. The rest of them let loose with a flurry of hammers, magical attacks, flame dropping from the sky. It was quite the show. The creature was badly injured and attempted to scuttle back down into its warren before it could be extinguished. For a creature that claimed to know our every move and secrets, it proved quite the lie. It was not prepared for me. When I saw it down at the bottom of the cavern 40 feet, I admit I probably didn't think things through. I could have cast more javelins and such, but I wanted to disabuse it of the idea that it was safe in its trench, so I leapt upon it. Chest first. I squashed it like an insect. My chest stung a little bit afterwards, but I weathered the fall fairly well, cushioning myself upon the vile creature. Perhaps if it were a more hardy creature, that might have hurt more, but it crumpled nicely. I was able to retrieve our weapons that we had cast down upon it. Apparently nobody really uses a bow in our group. We all throw axes and hammers and my javelins, so I piled those up, and I was able to spy, while I was down there, a chest lying off to one side. Also, I noticed that the ground was unnaturally cold. This cold contributed to the longevity of a body that I found down at the bottom. It appeared to be the smith who was originally taken by the Red Brands and cast into this pit, probably to feed the Nothic so it wouldn't bother them. We retrieved the body out from the crevasse, and also brought up the chest. I climbed up, we were reunited, and Tradovic once again found another secret door in a room adjoining the chasm. So we decided that we would leave the other passages on the other side of the chasm and move out and explore this new place. We found a locked armory, which, all of us having weapons, we had no need of their weapons, although they were of good quality. I did, however, take a red cloak that I discovered. I thought it might be amusing to go about in the trappings of these Red Brands. Might even have been useful if I wanted to pass myself off as one of them. However, the next room that we came to was a tomb. A tomb of a human paladin. Our priest is versed in some of the histories. This paladin was a paladin, I believe, of Torm the Protector, I believe? Or was it Helm? I don't remember. Either way, he followed one of the gods of good. And the tomb had been defiled. The skeletons that were in the 3 sarcophaguses within were turned into animate skeletons. It was discovered that these skeletons were told not to attack anyone wearing a red cloak, so they did not attack me. The rest of the group was not as lucky, however. They are but skeletons. I had retrieved the body of the Nothic. Since I had destroyed it with my own body, I used the body of the Nothic to destroy one of the skeletons, crushing it. And thus I left the Nothic's body. I then picked up the short sword of the skeleton that I destroyed and progressed on with it, although it was an inferior weapon. Interestingly enough, in that chest that I had discovered was a sword emblazoned with the elven word Talon upon it. We discovered that one of the skeletons was the paladin, and he was unarmed, because whoever had looted his body had taken his sword and put it in that chest. So we returned everything back to where it should have been, with proper rites and rituals and such. Although there were some signet rings inside of value, apparently the thieving necromancers did not take them, so we left them with the bodies, I'm fairly certain. The next room that we came to was a prison. There was one sleeping Red Brand who was quickly dispatched. It was what had to be done. And the prisoners were a young boy and 2 women. The mother of the boy, I suspect, and possibly the wife of the smith. And I suspect the older woman was her mother or his mother or some such, grandmother to the boy. When we freed her, she told us that as a reward she would tell us of the location of a family heirloom, an emerald necklace, which, if we found, I would just want to give back to her. Without the smith, their family has few pleasant options for income and should be taken care of by their family's wealth. If we continue on in this pace, we'll get wealth enough from these who do wrong. So, we brought them out to Leosin, and Leosin took them with him back to town. We continued our delve. Going back into the chasm room, we crossed the bridge, and we heard a room. Through a door, we heard that there were human voices on the other side, loud, uproarious voices. After making sure the door was not trapped, we charged in. There were a group of drunken, gambling Red Brands. They did not prove much of a fight. One fell to the short sword that I had gotten from the skeleton, another one fell to a shield punch. I took up his short sword for the one that fell. It was a quick fight. Again, I don't believe that our side took any real injury. However, upon settling that fight, immediately the door on the far end of the room, and it was a large common room, it burst open and bugbears charged in to attack us. When we interrogated that Red Brand in Rosaria's home, he told us that the group had been given some hobgoblin warriors to make them stronger, give them muscle. I looked forward to fighting hobgoblins. I have never yet done so. Not that my tribe hasn't had dealings at axe point with hobgoblins in the past, just not that I can recall. These bugbears are big, strong, smelly brutes, and it was a good fight. The first one came up, and while I had enjoyed putting down 2 of these scoundrelous Red Brands, he came up while I was unprepared and smashed me in the stomach with his morning star. My Goliath nature showed him how much of a mistake that was as it bounced off of my abs. Well, I admit at this point I had the itch in the back of my head that I had drawn on my luck too much, and that I was just angry that we're at this point being attacked by surprise from these. So I allowed my anger to take over, and that hobgoblin bugbear rued the day he attacked Gal hard. I put him down like a dog. Took up his Morning Star, though. It's a better weapon than what I had had. Timora provides. The others went forth with butchering the remaining bugbears as well. Again, they fell quite quickly to our group. Between Glint, the hammerer, with his fixation on throwing hammers every which way, finally striking in some good solid blows against the things, and Lydia proves to be quite a capable warrior herself, darting in with her swords, and even though he was stricken once and acted as if it were a mortal blow, I have to admit our secret finder himself fared quite well against the bugbear that he was up against for a short time before he was able to help dispatch it. All told, it was a fairly enjoyable battle, although brief. Interestingly enough, these things were so stupid that even Art, who, aside from the fact that he is able to send out magical blasts, seems to have an aversion, just does not enjoy doing it. He moved in and distracted one of them to set another up for an attack. It seems to be more of what he's inclined to do, and that is fine enough. I know that his kind of magic does make people nervous, although he seems like he's a fair enough fellow. The bugbears destroyed. We of course looted them. They didn't have very much, and we went into the next room where the bugbears had come out of to discover their barracks. Within, there was a small runt of a goblin, small even for their diminutive size, who was cowering. Turns out that, as another surprise, our priest is able to speak Goblinish, and he talked to him. He found out that this black spider had approached the tribe the goblin belonged to, which may well be the tribe that captured Gundren, our employer. And he had put them up to causing mayhem and mischief, which something I think Leosin will be very interested in as well. That this is a concerted effort, although what the nature of this black spider is and what the end that it's playing at is still in the air. But it was not a danger. We let it go after we interrogated it. I thought it was rather cute, and I kind of thought we should have kept him. I think we could have offered it a better life, and it might have had some interesting insights when we go to deal with these goblins. But he is gone now. He did tell us, however, where the wizard was, although he believed the wizard would no longer be there. This would prove to be true. Apparently, the wizard was inclined to flee as soon as it was discovered that his home was invaded. And he had done so. He left behind his still operational laboratory, which I have seen walking through Waterdeep, the workings of an alchemy lab, and this very much seemed to be the case. Those with wiser heads than I looted it of the valuables that they found, much of which the things that were going on in that lab, I think, would not be easy to be moved or considered for salvage. We also found his room. This Glassstaff had hastily departed, leaving behind scraps, but no real information that we could use. We thought, though, that he had left very recently, So, several of our number got it in our heads that we should pursue and not let him get away. I don't have much truck for wizards who work against common people, so I joined in the chase. Art and I running side by side. He's pretty athletic for someone who does not look like he is that inclined to activity. But we ran along. It turns out also that our healer, Healy Man, is quite good at reading tracks and such. He determined that he had left the way that we had come in. Since Leosin had taken the Smith's family back to safety, he was not there to intercept the wizard. And even had he been, the wizard might have done something to him, or, well, perhaps it is Tamora's will that he had not been stopped in such a way. So, we pursued, which has led me back to outside of the town of Phandelin, with Art. No sign of the wizard. We lost the tracks, although admittedly, our priest has gone at a slower pace so as not to lose the track. So it may be that he might find where the wizard had diverged. I certainly hope so. This is one that we should bring to justice. But, that being said, I think this is at an end of this recording, and I will certainly let you know more about our struggles against this spider. And I believe I can convince the rest to pursue after Gundrun and find the fate of this dwarf who employs us. And if we cannot save him, then we will certainly avenge him. And then get back with his brothers to what we have been employed to do. I am Gelhard. I'm going to end this here for those of you who watch in later days. Farewell. I think I slide this to this.